The light in the distance pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Emily stood frozen, her fingers gripping the edge of the window frame. It was too far away to make out clearly, but she could feel it a strange pull, as if the light were calling to her. She shook her head, trying to shake off the sensation, but it lingered, growing stronger with each passing second. "What is that?" she whispered to herself, though no one was there to hear her. Behind her, footsteps echoed down the hallway. David appeared, his face tense and drawn. "Emily, what are you doing out here?" She turned to him, pointing toward the light. "Do you see that? Out there?" David stepped closer, squinting into the darkness. For a moment, he didn't say anything. Then, his jaw tightened. "It's not natural. Whatever it is, it wasn't there before." "Do you think it's them?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. "The ones William talked about?" "I don't know," David admitted, his hand instinctively moving to the weapon at his side. "But we can't ignore it. If they're trying to send us a message or worse, lure us out, we need to be ready." Emily hesitated, torn between fear and curiosity. "What do we do?" "We investigate," David said firmly, but cautiously. "Rachel and the others will want answers, and we can't afford to jump into this blind." They returned to the main chamber to gather supplies, flashlights, scanners, and protective gear. The rest of the council was still deep in discussion, their voices rising and falling in waves of frustration. Rachel glanced up as David and Emily entered, her brow furrowing. "What's going on?" she asked. "There's something outside," David explained quickly. "A light. We're going to check it out." Rachel stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "You're leaving the bunker. Are you insane? It's not safe out there." "We don't have a choice," David replied. "If this is connected to what's happening, if it's part of their plan, we need to know." Rachel stared at him, her expression conflicted. Finally, she sighed. "Fine, but be careful, and take someone with you. You shouldn't go alone." David nodded, turning to Emily. "Are you coming?" She hesitated for only a moment, before nodding. "Yes." Together, they prepared for the journey, strapping on their gear and double-checking their equipment. The airlock hissed as they stepped outside, the cold biting at their skin. The world beyond the bunker was eerily silent, the stars above casting faint light over the barren landscape. The glowing beacon was still distant, its rhythm steady and hypnotic. As they moved closer, Emily felt a strange warmth spreading through her chest, despite the freezing temperature. It wasn't unpleasant, but it made her uneasy. "Do you feel that?" she asked softly. David nodded, his grip tightening on his flashlight. "Yeah, it's strange, like it's alive." When they finally reached the source of the light, they stopped in their tracks. It wasn't a machine or a device, it was a cluster of translucent orbs, hovering just above the ground. They pulsed in unison, casting soft hues of blue and white across the desolate terrain. Each pulse sent a ripple through the air, vibrating gently against their skin. "What are they?" Emily murmured, taking a cautious step forward. Before David could answer, the orbs began to shift, rearranging themselves into a pattern. It was the same symbol they had seen carved into buildings, the swirling design that seemed to twist and change. When stared at too long, Emily's breath caught in her throat. "It's communicating," she whispered. "No," David said sharply, grabbing her arm. "We're leaving now." But as they turned to go, the orbs brightened, flooding the area with light. A voice filled the air, not spoken, but felt, resonating deep within their minds. "You cannot resist," it said, calm and unwavering. "Your place awaits." Emily froze, her heart pounding. David tugged at her arm, shouting something she couldn't hear, over the sound of her own racing thoughts. The light grew brighter, enveloping them completely. And then, everything went dark. In the year 2378, humanity had grown far beyond its home planet. Earth was no longer just a single world, but the center of a sprawling network of colonies spread across dozens of star systems. Humans lived alongside alien species, traded goods, shared knowledge, and even formed alliances. It seemed like the golden age of exploration and unity. But peace never lasts long in the vastness of space. One ordinary morning, everything changed. A message arrived at the United Earth Council headquarters in Geneva. The transmission came from deep space, carried by an alien drone that hovered silently above Earth's orbit. When the signal was decoded, it filled the council chamber with dread. On a large screen, a towering insectoid figure appeared. His chitinous armor gleamed under dim red lights, and his voice echoed with cold authority. He called himself Ambassador Kale, a representative of the Vorthok Dominion, a galactic empire so ancient and powerful that few dared to oppose it. The message was simple yet chilling. Surrender all human-controlled territories or face total annihilation. There would be no negotiations, no compromise. Humanity had 7 solar cycles, about 2 weeks to comply. If they refused, the Vorthok fleet would descend upon them like a storm, leaving nothing but ash and silence in its wake. President Matthew Hayes stared at the screen, his jaw tight. He turned to face the members of the council, their faces pale with shock. "This is not a request," he said finally, breaking the heavy silence. "It's a declaration of war." General Rachel Monroe stood up, her military uniform crisp and her expression unyielding. She had spent decades defending Earth and its colonies, and she wasn't about to roll over now. "We can't give in," she said firmly. "If we surrender, we lose everything, not just our land, but our freedom, our dignity. We'll become slaves to their empire." Others in the room weren't so sure. Some argued that fighting back would be suicide. The Vorthok Dominion controlled thousands of star systems, while humanity had barely scratched the surface of the galaxy. Their technology was rumored to be centuries ahead of anything humans possessed. How could they possibly win? Dr. Nathan Fields, head of the Interstellar Research Initiative, listened quietly, a soft-spoken man with glasses perched on his nose. He wasn't a soldier or a politician, but his mind was sharper than most weapons. He knew what humanity was capable of when pushed to the brink. "We have something they don't," he said, calmly drawing everyone's attention. "Ingenuity, determination, and allies." Rachel nodded. "He's right. This isn't just about us. We've built friendships with other species people who depend on us as much as we depend on them. If we fall, they fall too." The debate continued late into the night, voices rising and falling like waves. Outside the council chamber, news of the ultimatum spread quickly. People gathered around screens in cities and colonies, watching replays of Ambassador Kale's ominous message. Fear rippled through the population, but so did anger and resolve. Social media platforms lit up with hashtags like #NeverSurrender and #StandWithEarth. By dawn, the decision was made. President Hayes addressed the world, standing tall behind a podium flanked by flags representing Earth and its allied planets. "To the people of Earth and our colonies," he began, his voice steady and clear. "We stand at a crossroads. Today, we are faced with a choice: to kneel before tyranny, or to rise and fight for our future. I say to you now, we will not bow, we will not break. Together, we will show the Vorthok Dominion what it means to defy humanity." As his words echoed across the stars, preparations began. Factories roared to life, producing weapons and ships. Soldiers suited up, ready to defend their homes. Scientists worked tirelessly, trying to unlock new technologies that might level the playing field. For better or worse, humanity had chosen its path. War was coming, and there was no turning back. Rachel Monroe didn't waste a moment. As soon as the council meeting ended, she activated emergency protocols, mobilizing Earth's military forces. She knew time was their greatest enemy. The Vorthok ultimatum gave them only 2 weeks 14. days to prepare for an invasion that could wipe out everything humanity had built. Every second counted. Her first call was to Admiral Jack Harper, commander of the Sol Fleet, Earth's primary defense force stationed around the solar system. Harper was a grizzled veteran with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. He listened intently as Rachel outlined the situation. "We need every ship ready," she told him, "not just the ones near Earth. Pull in reinforcements from the colonies, too." Harper nodded grimly. "I'll start consolidating our forces," he said, "but we're stretched thin. If the Vorthok hit us before we're fully prepared, it's going to get ugly." Rachel agreed, but reminded him they had no choice. "Ugly is better than dead," she replied. "Do what you can. We'll figure out the rest as we go." While Harper worked on assembling the fleet, Rachel turned her attention to another critical piece of the puzzle: technology. Humanity's survival depended not just on numbers, but on innovation. She reached out to Dr. Nathan Fields, whose interstellar research initiative had been quietly working on cutting-edge projects for years. Nathan wasted no time bringing Rachel up to speed. In his lab, surrounded by glowing screens and humming machines, he introduced her to his assistant, Claire Bennett. Together, they explained their latest breakthrough, the quantum disruptor array. It was a weapon unlike anything humanity had ever created, capable of temporarily disabling enemy shields. The catch? It required enormous amounts of energy, meaning only the largest ships could carry it. "This could be a game-changer," Nathan said, his voice tinged with cautious optimism. "But we need more time to refine it and to produce enough units to make a difference." Rachel frowned. Time was one thing they didn't have. Still, she gave Nathan and Claire her full support, ordering additional resources diverted to their project. "Work around the clock if you have to," she told them. "If this works, it might save us all." As preparations continued, news of the impending war spread further, reaching even the most remote corners of human space. Colonists on distant planets fortified their settlements, while volunteers lined up to join the military. Factories once used to build civilian goods were repurposed to churn out weapons, armor, and spacecraft components. Even children pitched in where they could, collecting scrap metal or helping assemble basic equipment. Despite the fear gripping many, there was also a surprising sense of unity. For years, humanity had been divided, arguing over politics, resources, and ideologies. But now, faced with an existential threat, those differences seemed insignificant. People rallied together, determined to protect their shared future. Back on Earth, President Matthew Hayes delivered another address, this time aimed at boosting morale. Standing in front of a massive crowd gathered in New York City's Central Park, he spoke passionately about humanity's resilience. "We've faced challenges before," he reminded them. "Diseases, natural disasters, even wars among ourselves. And every time, we've risen above. This will be no different. Together, we will show the galaxy that humanity does not back down." His words resonated deeply, inspiring millions. Across the planet, flags were raised, and candles were lit in memory of those who had already sacrificed so much. Songs of hope played on radios, and murals depicting brave soldiers and scientists appeared on city walls. But amid the determination, there were moments of quiet reflection. Rachel Monroe found herself staring at photos of her family late one night, wondering if she'd see them again after the battle. Nathan Fields stayed awake long past midnight, tweaking calculations and running simulations, driven by the weight of responsibility resting on his shoulders. Even Admiral Harper, usually stoic and unshakable, allowed himself a rare moment of doubt as he gazed at the stars, wondering if humanity truly stood a chance against such overwhelming odds. Yet through it all, one truth remained clear: surrender was not an option. Whatever lay ahead, humanity would face it head-on with courage, ingenuity, and an unbreakable will to survive. The Vorthok fleet arrived sooner than anyone expected. Just 5 days after the ultimatum, their ships appeared near Proxima Centauri, one of humanity's oldest and most vital colonies. The news hit like a thunderclap. Panic spread as reports, flooded in hundreds of massive vessels, each bristling with weapons, descended upon the unsuspecting settlers. Leading the attack was Grand Admiral Ziller, a ruthless tactician known for his efficiency and cruelty. Admiral Jack Harper scrambled to respond. He dispatched a squadron led by Captain Lucas Steele aboard the Eclipse, one of Earth's newest and fastest cruisers. Steele was a seasoned officer with a reputation for thinking on his feet. His mission was clear: hold off the Vorthok long enough to evacuate civilians and gather intelligence on their tactics. But no one was prepared for what came next. The battle erupted with terrifying speed. The Vorthok opened fire without warning, their energy beams slicing through human defenses like paper. Steele's squadron fought valiantly, launching waves of fighters and firing every weapon at their disposal. Yet the enemy's technology was far superior. Their shields absorbed most of the damage, while their precision targeting crippled several human ships within minutes. "Shields down to 40%, shouted one of Steele's crew members over the cacophony of alarms. The bridge shook violently as another blast struck the Eclipse. Smoke filled the air, but Steele remained calm, gripping the arms of his chair tightly. "We can't win this fight," he muttered under his breath. "But we can still save lives." Steele made a split-second decision. Instead of continuing the hopeless assault, he ordered his remaining forces to focus on evacuating colonists. Transport shuttles zipped between the colony's domes and the waiting evacuation ships, carrying families and workers to safety. Steele himself stayed behind, leading a desperate rearguard action to buy time. Back on Earth, Rachel Monroe watched the situation unfold from her command center. The screens showed chaotic footage of burning ships and panicked colonists fleeing for their lives. Her hands clenched into fists as she realized how badly outnumbered they were. Still, there was a glimmer of hope. Thanks to Steele's quick thinking, thousands of people managed to escape before the colony fell. When the last shuttle lifted off, Steele gave the order to retreat. The Eclipse limped away from Proxima Centauri, its hull scarred and engines sputtering. As they entered hyperspace, Steele leaned back in his seat, exhaustion etched across his face. They had lost the battle, but they hadn't lost everything. President Matthew Hayes addressed the public shortly afterward, his expression somber yet resolute. Standing in front of a backdrop displaying images of the ruined colony, he acknowledged the heavy losses but refused to give in to despair. "Today, we mourn those we've lost," he said. "But let this be a reminder of why we fight. We will not bow to tyranny. We will rebuild, regroup, and strike back when the time is right." His words struck a chord with millions. Across the galaxy, people mourned the destruction of Proxima Centauri, but found strength in Hayes' determination. Soldiers redoubled their efforts, working tirelessly to prepare for the next confrontation. Scientists raced against time to improve humanity's weapons and defenses. Even ordinary citizens pitched in, donating supplies or volunteering for emergency services. Meanwhile, Nathan Fields and Claire Bennett pushed themselves harder than ever. The quantum disruptor array was nearly ready, but they needed more data to optimize its performance. When Steele returned from Proxima Centauri, he brought back valuable information about the Vortex shield systems. It wasn't much, but it was enough to give Nathan and Claire new ideas. Late one night, as Claire adjusted the array's power settings, she turned to Nathan with a small smile. "If this works," she said softly, "it could turn the tide." Nathan nodded, though his eyes betrayed his worry. "Let's just hope we get the chance to use it." As days passed, tensions mounted. The loss of Proxima Centauri was a painful blow, but it also served as a rallying cry. Humanity had tasted defeat, but instead of crumbling, they grew stronger. Each setback fueled their resolve. Somewhere out there, the Vorthok fleet loomed, preparing for its next move. And somewhere, closer to home, humanity prepared to answer with everything they had. Document. Part 5. The war raged on, leaving scars that stretched far beyond the battlefield. Refugees poured into neighboring star systems, their ships battered and their spirits broken. Many carried nothing but the clothes on their backs and memories of loved ones lost. Mia Collins was one of them, a schoolteacher from Haven 7. She had barely escaped the Krylos attack with her life. Now, aboard a damaged freighter drifting through space. She clung to her small recording device, the only thing she had left, to document the horrors she had witnessed. Mia's recordings became a window into the human cost of the conflict. She spoke softly, but with raw emotion, describing the chaos of the attack, the cries of children separated from their parents, and the cold emptiness of space where homes once stood. Her words painted a vivid picture of suffering, one that resonated deeply with those who heard them. When the recordings were shared online, they went viral almost instantly. People across the galaxy watched in stunned silence, their hearts heavy with grief and anger. For the first time, the true toll of the war became impossible to ignore. On Earth, protests grew louder and more desperate. Crowds filled city streets, holding signs that read "No more war" and "Bring our families home." Some demonstrators chanted for peace, while others demanded accountability from their leaders. President Rachel Dawson faced mounting pressure to address the crisis. Her speeches no longer reassured the public. Instead, they fueled frustration. Critics accused her of failing to prevent the war or protect humanity's interests. Even Daniel Carter, whose declaration had sparked the conflict, began to retreat from the spotlight, haunted by the consequences of his actions. Amidst the turmoil, Ethan Blake continued his investigation into Richard Grayson, armed with the evidence he had uncovered at the secure facility. Ethan confronted Grayson in his private estate, a sprawling mansion surrounded by high walls and armed guards. The meeting took place in Grayson's office, a lavish room adorned with trophies and artifacts from alien worlds. Grayson sat behind a polished desk, his expression calm but calculating. "You've dug up some interesting files," Grayson said, leaning back in his chair. His tone was casual, as if discussing the weather. "But what do you hope to accomplish? Exposing me won't change anything." "It's not about changing the past," Ethan replied, his voice steady despite the knot of fear in his stomach. "It's about stopping you from doing more damage. If people knew how you manipulated this war for profit, they'd tear you apart." Grayson smirked, unfazed. "And what makes you think anyone will believe you? You're just a low-level operative, with no proof that can stand up to scrutiny." Ethan set the portable drive containing the classified documents on the desk. "This is my proof, and unless you want it made public, you'll confess everything right now." For a moment, Grayson's composure faltered. He stared at the drive, his mind racing. Finally, he sighed and leaned forward. "Fine," he said, his voice tinged with resignation. "I'll admit, I played a role in all this. But don't pretend humanity wasn't already headed for disaster. All I did was speed things along." As Ethan recorded Grayson's confession, Sarah Hughes worked tirelessly to publish her findings about Earth's secret experiments. Her article appeared on a major news site, accompanied by leaked documents proving humanity's theft of alien technology. The revelation shocked the galaxy, further eroding trust in Earth's leadership. Calls for sanctions and reparations echoed across interstellar channels, adding another layer of complexity to the growing crisis. Meanwhile, Queen Nysa of the Zentari convened an emergency council session to discuss the escalating violence. Leela Monroe attended reluctantly, still torn between loyalty to her people and doubts about the path they had chosen. As delegates debated whether to push for peace or continue the fight, Leela found herself questioning everything. Was revenge truly worth the cost? Or was there still a chance to heal the wounds before they became fatal? For now, the galaxy remained locked in a cycle of destruction and retaliation. Each side believed it was fighting for justice, yet none seemed willing to take the first step toward reconciliation. The stars burned brighter than ever, but beneath their glow lay a future clouded by uncertainty. Whatever happened next, the choices made in these moments would shape the galaxy for generations to come.